Okay, so let's get started. So this webinar will be about, getting your team set up on Ayoa if you've just purchased a subscription. But we'll also be covering how to invite people to mind maps and task boards, even if you're still currently just trying out the free version as well. So if you haven't got set up on a subscription yet and you're not sure how to do that, it's actually very simple to do. So if you pop to the menu, you can actually skip straight to there by clicking Upgrade Plan. And all this will do is open up your account settings, and here you can choose whether to set up a yearly plan. You can choose the plan that works for you, and you can even switch to a monthly plan if you want to. And if you've started off on a single subscription user, you can switch to a team plan at any point, and you can do that right here in your account settings. So let's say that you've already bought a subscription for your team and you just want to get everyone set up and invited. Well, it's nice and simple to do. So again, just pop to the menu, and by clicking on Plan Members, this will take me to my account settings where I can start inviting people to my team. So you can see here, this is my Ayoa plan. At the moment, I've got 3 out of 10 members allocated. So if I want to add someone, it's as simple as click Add Plan Member. And all I need to do is just pop their email address in. I'm going to add a second person as well. I've got my 2 plan members, and up here, if you've ever collaborated with someone before or if they've been on your team, you can invite them from up here as well. So I'm just going to click Add 2 plan members. And you can see at the moment that invitation is pending. So if they already have their Ayoa subscription, that's great. All they will need to do is log into Ayoa, and when they click on the notifications, they'll get an invite up here just saying that you've invited them. They click through that, accept the invite, and perfect. They'll be part of your team. If they haven't got an Ayoa subscription, they'll also get an invite to set up their Ayoa account, and once they're all set up, they'll be able to accept your invitation. So if you need to edit who you've got in your team at any time, you can use this same panel to remove people, or if they've accidentally deleted their invitation, you can select it and resend the invitation there. And it's as simple as that. So anything to do with managing your team, it's all available within this section. So once you've got your team members added, you'll want to start adding them to your first mind map or first task board to give them an understanding of how Ayoa works. Now, if you're a free user, you can also invite people to your mind maps and task boards as well. So to do that, I'm going to click on New under Mind Maps. I'm just going to name my mind map. And I'm going to use a speed map. So we've got 3 maps down here. So for anyone who's never used Ayoa before, you've got a choice of 3 different maps. So speed maps, very much what it says on the tin, allows you to mind map really quickly. You don't have to worry about layout, as it will automatically tidy itself up as it goes along. And it's great for team collaboration, as you can quickly get ideas down. the organic map, that's more geared towards creative mind mapping. It's based on hand-drawn mind maps, and it has much curvier, wavier branches that are more reminiscent of drawing like a pencil or pen. And then finally, we've got radial map, which is quite different to the other views. So that's more, instead of branches, you've got segments, and they're much more based on a more like a sunburst map or a pie chart. But in this instance, I'm going to start with a speed map. So to communicate to my team, what this mind map is about, just to get them onboarded to Ayoa, I'm going to create a central idea. I'm going to search for an image. And I'm going to click create central idea. So I'll call this mind map introducing the team. So you might want to use this as a, to get people introduced to the mind mapping feature. You could use this as an icebreaker. So I'm going to add my team. So I've got my new members here. I'm going to add some of the team members I have before. So even if you're working as a free user, you can still invite people directly to your mind maps by adding their email address here, and you'll still be able to collaborate with them up to the free limits. If you've got a subscription, you can even invite people that are outside your subscription, again, simply by popping their email in. And if they've got an Ayoa account, they'll be able to collaborate with you straight away. If they haven't got an Ayoa account, then they'll receive an invitation to sign up. And once they've signed up, they'll be able to jump on that mind map with you. So as you can see, I've got members of this mind map. And now I can think about, how I'm going to introduce the concept of mind mapping to them. So the best way to do that, I find, is to, rather than just leave one central idea, is to start sort of building a structure. So, what you want them to discuss. So, for example, I could create a parent branch for each of them. There we go. So I've started off with parent branches, which are just their names, for example. And I can just add a little bit of what I want them to contribute. So I could prompt them to introduce role. A fun fact about themselves. I just encourage them, to start, collaborating, and that will help them give an idea of, how mind mapping works and how the software works as well in a really sort of low stakes sort of mind map. So what they can then do is just have a play around with all the different formatting features. I would even suggest, asking them to create their own mind map, perhaps putting them at the center, and then asking them to, add details about themselves. For example, they could add images. Simply by clicking add. So they could browse their computer, add an image of themselves. In this instance, I'm just going to for a default image. And you could see how really quickly, you could change this mind map into an icebreaker where where everyone introduces themselves, but also very quickly begins to understand, how Ayoa works. So if you were doing this for more of work related, I think it's really important to outline exactly what you're expecting for the mind map. So for example, if we go back to the home page, I'm going to start new. You're going to choose the speed map again. Go to invite some people. Bear with me, I think my internet has slowed down a little bit, which is the joy of working from home. Bear with me a second. We're just going to choose another image again. So we've already got a central idea. So in this instance, you can start outlining, what are your questions? What do you want to get out of this meeting? And that will help to encourage people, contribute ideas. So let's say, just going to throw down a couple of ideas. And already we've outlined, what we want out of this meeting, so these members know exactly what they want to add. And they can contribute really easily to these branches simply by clicking here and adding more ideas. If I wanted to discuss a particular idea with them, then it'd just be as easy as clicking the I here, using the comment button. By clicking at, you can very quickly message someone. We can keep that discussion going. So depending on the kind of mind map you're doing, you might want to play around with the permissions, which basically means controlling what people can do and can't do with the mind map. So that is always in your settings here. And if you click here, I can choose, whether they can only read the map, so they can see it, but they can't actually edit it. I can make them an admin. And down here, I can stop people deleting other people's branches and make that admin only. So that just prevents anyone either deleting someone else's idea or deleting them by accident. And I can also control and stop people from inviting other people to this mind map as well. And this is a great way to collaborate remotely. It's really quite refreshing alternative to having a face-to-face meeting through webcam, because it allows you just to cut through that noise. So what I'm going to show you next is how to invite your team members to a task board and just how to onboard them there. So if I click on home, I go to new, I can create a new task board here. And I can invite people straight away. So I'm just going to choose different members of the team. And I can even choose my permission straight away. So I can choose for that person to only see their assigned tasks. I can make this person read only if I want to, or I can just leave it as it is so they can contribute and edit tasks as they go along. And it's simply create task board. So you've got a couple of different choices here for how you can set that task board up. And the great thing about it is that the 3 options, any member of your team can view this in exactly the way that they want, but still view the same information. For example, if you have someone that works better in a more creative, colourful visual, then the canvas will be great for them. But if they prefer working in a Kanban style, they can work in the workflow view, while if they're more date orientated, they can choose the Gantt timeline, and everyone can view that task board in exactly the way that suits them. So for this particular example, I'm going to choose the workflow view. So what's really going to help your team get set up quickly and get a better understanding of how Ayoa works is to create a clear workflow. So for your first task board where you're introducing people to Ayoa, I would recommend just keeping it simple, so that they quickly pick up, the different features of Ayoa and what works for them. And a really good example of a simple workflow is to create a very simple Kanban. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to drag and drop here, and just create very simple columns: to do, doing, and if you want to correct your category because you're terrible at typing like I am, all you need to do is click the pencil, make your correction, and hit the tick button. So already I've got 3 categories on there. So this will be a really simple, easy to understand workflow to someone who is new to Ayoa and new to using online task boards. So what I'm now going to do, I'm going to add a task, and this is about onboarding. Let's make it something simple and pretend this person has just joined the company. So so we've created our first task. So now looking at this board, you've got no idea who's meant to be doing this, but you can clear that up very quickly. Just click on the task, and on this first info panel, if you go to assigned, you can choose exactly who this is relevant to. So if you've clicked the wrong person, just click on it, then click on assign, and then go back here and choose the correct person. So now you can see that this task is for this person. So using Ayoa and task boards effectively is all about providing the right information to help that person do what they need to do. So I want to outline, okay, when do I want them to sort this out by? So I can click set due date. I can tell them I want this done by Friday. I can set a time. So I'm going to make this slightly earlier in the day and say I want it done by 11. And I've set the due date. So if there was any additional information that I wanted to provide them, which is going to make it easy to them, I can put this in the notes. And so, although I haven't put that much information, I've given her all the information she needs to complete this task. And if she wants me to show that she's on it, she can do that in a few ways. So she can click in progress, and that immediately would communicate to me, okay, she's seen this, she's doing this. You can also drag and drop. So let's say you've got a task that needs to go through maybe different departments, and you can easily set your task board up to communicate that with the team that are on there, so it's really clear where different tasks need to go and what different departments are dealing with what issue. So, if this was overdue and I wanted to check up on what was happening, all I need to do is click on the comments. I can use the @ symbol to send her a direct message. And immediately Dora will get that message, and we've got that communication all in one place rather than over through separate emails. In fact, what she could do is she could attach whatever document I've asked for right here, if she was having any issues. You can also use this checklist here to really help your team and to break down the different tasks that you need to have done. Making sure that your tasks have people assigned to them, helps to keep accountability. It means who you need to chase up with, if anything's fallen behind, and it puts a face to the task. Adding the different dates means that whoever you're delegating tasks to is going to have a really clear understanding of what's expected of them. And if you created that task, so if I click on more, I will receive notifications about this task. So even though I've assigned Dora, if this becomes overdue, or if this task is it's due to be completed, I'll receive a notification as well. So I know exactly what's happening with this task. Now, as your task boards become bigger, you'd want to make sure that your team are able to filter through the task boards really easily so that they can concentrate on what they're working on. So what I would suggest is encouraging them to use filters. So down here, you've got your filters. And if you click on filter by assignees, you can pick yourself or anyone else. So as you can see, it filters out everyone else. And then this person can concentrate on just the tasks that they're assigned to. And that will really help your team members just to fully concentrate and understand, what's expected of them. Using the progress bar, they can easily communicate with you, and you can break down even, through the checklist, what's expected of that task, so they can then check off that progress meter accordingly. So additional features that we have, which are going to help you onboard your team very quickly, is our chat. So that is automatically hidden. If you want to use it, all you need to do is click on this icon, and that opens up your sidebar. So if you haven't spoken to anyone before, this section will be blank. If you just pop up the blue speech bubble here, if you type in their email, then if you've worked with them before, they'll just pop up for you. Very much like the task boards and mind maps, if they haven't used Ayoa before, it will send them an invitation. going to open up the chat, and here you can keep in touch with your team, and using that instant chat rather than an external chat is really going to help you, stay within Ayoa and concentrate on the different tasks that you have. So I can have the chat open on the side. Well, I've got a task board open, so I can be discussing with my team member, right here, exactly what we're looking at here. And we actually introduced Ayoa Chat over a year ago, and in all honesty, we created it, for us, because we found that our communication was just over so many different apps, and adding Ayoa Chat has really streamlined our work for us. It means that rather than having to bounce between lots of different apps, we can get everything done, within this one workspace. And you'll find that, if you're doing that, if you're having that conversation with your team within Ayoa Chat, as they're looking at the mind maps, as they're looking at the task boards, you'll find they'll just pick it up so much quicker than if you're, trying to discuss Ayoa, through email or through another messenger app. So once you've got them started, so you've had a go at the mind maps, you've had a go at the task boards, the next thing I would recommend is, if your team have, work mobiles or iPads or anything like that, we've got a range of different apps that you can use. So Ayoa is supported on iPad, iPhone, and Android, and the web app you can use on, any laptop. So I'd encourage them just to get set up on that so they can access Ayoa from any device. So we hold webinars every week. And so the next step I would recommend is just encouraging your team to either sign up for our webinars or to look at our previous YouTube webinars that focus on the features that they're using most. For example, if you find that they're using the mind map feature much more, then perhaps our webinar or our YouTube channel that's all about mind mapping would be perfect for them. Also, if you've got someone who's more about delegating tasks, then our general introduction to Ayoa might be perfect for them. So what I'm going to do now is just open the floor up to you guys. So if you've got any questions about how to introduce Ayoa to your team, or any challenges that you've had introducing Ayoa to your team, just pop a question in the Q&A, and I'm just going to let you know about a few updates that we've got coming up. So on our roadmap, our big focus now is really on Teams. So over the next month or so, we're going to be introducing a virtual meeting capture. So that's all about quickly creating branches and tasks from discussion points in your meetings. We're looking at integrating Zoom. At the moment, as you know, I'm doing this webinar through Zoom, so it's a great combination, but we're looking at actually having a full integration there. We've got Team Pulse dashboard, so that's going to allow you to share what you were up to with the team, with statuses and other information. And very, very soon we've got teams and groups. So what that is going to allow you to do is segment your team into little groups. So, if you've got people that you work with on a regular basis, or you've got groups of people who tend to work together quite a lot, you can really quickly add them to task boards, to your chat, to your mind map by just adding the groups. Okay, so a question I've had, is there a limit to the number of people who collaborate creating one mind map? No, if you have a subscription, there is no limit on the amount of people collaborating, and it's all in real time as well. So for anyone who missed the webinar yesterday, that was all about working remotely, and in there we demonstrate we actually demonstrated live, me and members of our team actually collaborating in real time. So you could see other members of my team adding branches, adding tasks, interacting with the tasks. And that is available on YouTube. And if you did sign up to it yesterday, you should be getting a link to that recording sometime today as well. Yep, so someone's asked about sharing a mind map with the team. So in case you missed that, yep, you can control their permissions. So you literally go up here, and if you want them just to read it, you can change their permissions to read only. So that way they can't make any changes to your mind map. So when working in a team, that's, permissions are going to be really useful for you, especially if you've got a lot of people on one task board or one mind map. So if you ever want to limit what people can do to edit the mind map or task board, just look for this icon, and this will allow you to change the permissions. So you can control who can delete branches and categories, who can invite others, and change whether people can fully interact or not. Okay, so I'm just going to give you guys some time to think of any more questions. But in the meantime, if you want to learn more about Ayoa in your free time, we've got a huge range of support guides available at support.ayoa.com. We have YouTube tutorials, including recordings of our previous webinars. So we've done quite a few webinars, mind mapping, radial map, an introduction to Ayoa, and our working remotely ones. And for any additional questions, you just pop us an email at support@ayoa.com. So our next webinar will be next Tuesday at 2:30 UK time, and that's all about working remotely with Ayoa, which I'd recommend is maybe a follow-up to this one. And then on Wednesday, we've got our webinar, which is all about getting started in Ayoa, and that will cover mind maps, task boards, and My Planner. So just want to check before I head off today, is there anything else I can answer for anyone? Okay, it looks like everyone's happy. But like I said, if there's anything that occurs to you after this webinar, just pop me an email at support@ayoa.com and I would be delighted to help. We'll be sending a recording of this webinar out probably tomorrow, and it will also be available on YouTube as well for everyone to watch. So if there's anyone who didn't sign up for this, who still want to watch it, they'll be able to view it on YouTube. Okay, thank you ever so much for joining me today. Yeah, any more questions, just email me at support@ayoa.com. Stay safe, everyone, and hopefully you'll join me for the next one. Thank you, bye.